Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather. And let's go! Welcome to a little show that we're going to be calling Comic Run. Pretty much we're going to be talking about pulls that come out throughout each week. On Wednesdays, more than likely, New Comic Book Day, as some of you may be aware. If there are any that you think that we should be talking about on the show, please let me know. Hit me up in the comments. Also, reach out on social media. Links to all that silly stuff down in the description, of course. Today, starting off, they hit it out of the park once again. We are talking about none other than Children of the Atom number 2. Can you believe it? So, it's actually, again, cover art. Freaking gorgeous. It's going to be on the screen everywhere else besides just me showing it to you right here. But gotta say, just got done reading it right before talking to you right now. And holy freaking moly, pretty tight. So to anyone who may be unfamiliar as to what exactly Children of the Atom are, who they are these younger, I guess you could consider them young X-Men. That's at least what the humans are calling them on the human side of the world. There's this whole island called Krakoa where mutants can live freely without prejudice and terrible laws thrown in their way. Current times and the past of human history. Anyway, sorry about that. So yeah, just in case you're maybe not privy to what X-Men comics are, I'm very much a noob myself, which is kind of why I wanted to do this show. I feel as though it's a fun way for us all to be able to learn together, and also, if you happen to be a super huge comic book nerd, maybe you can teach me and everyone else here a little bit of something. I would look forward to that. School me all you want, just be kind and constructive when you do it. Yeah, right. Anyway, moving on. So, yes, we have these young X-Men, if you will, who are not quite joining the X-Men. For whatever reason, in the first issue, they kind of don't want to join them. They don't exactly say why, other than, you know, they have families, they want to be able to finish school, even though on the island of Krakoa, the X-Men have plenty of education that can just be like the Matrix, just installed in them. They now know Kung Fu. I can now do calculus, stuff like that. It's super cool, but they're like, no, you know what, we kind of want to be kids right now. We kind of want to be able to enjoy ourselves. They go to high school, they're having fun. In the first issue, there's a little bit of an inkling of Cyclops Lass. Not a big fan of that name. Cyclops Lass? Really? Okay, that said, character design, as again shown right around here, really sick. Everyone in this, at least what they've revealed so far in the first 2 issues of this run, they have their own complications in life. They're not just, you know, happy-go-lucky kids who are able to fight with superpowers. You know, they have their own issues in life, their losses, what they're really good at. And there's a little bit of teen drama, but it's not overly, like, heavy-handed to where I feel like, here we go, Gossip Girl. I just aged myself a little bit, I think. And it's super fun, kind of just seeing how these high schoolers are able to navigate life, as well as in a world where they have to be low-key, or at least they feel they need to be low-key about who they really are and the powers they possess within the human world that they live in, i.e. New York, Los Angeles, what have you. So that's what's kind of fun about it. Them kind of like, I don't know, it's really kind of dark and it's super sad, and yet, and again, reflects on current social issues we have in our world today, which, I mean, that's kind of what X-Men was created to talk about to begin with. So, I don't know, to date this episode probably a little bit, there are some terrible things going on in the news right now in certain areas of the United States where I happen to be from. And, you know, it's really hurtful to see just what these kids have to go through and what they're hiding, because they feel as though they can't properly and fully express who they are and show the world who they are without being damned for it quite, you know, socially, on a social level. I mean, there's a chance that they may not be able to live if someone were to find out what they're up to. So, it's really kind of dark. Anyway, this team of young X-Men, you could say that is head by Cyclops Lass. That still stings a little bit. I mean, I guess in the lore, the character came up with the name herself, so that way it's paying ode and homage, if you will, to actually Cyclops, old Scotty boy, which is cool and everything like that. Again, character design, mwah. But the name probably could use a little bit of sprucing up. We'll call her Buddy, because that's actually what her nickname is outside of her street name, if you will. So yeah, her alter ego. Anyway, that is the case. I have been enjoying this book quite a bit. I'm glad that I got to number 2. But just to backtrack a little bit, again, we're going to get spoilery a little bit, not too crazy. There hasn't been too much revealed yet in my opinion, but there are some things that we need to look out for. So leave, come back, read the story of issue 1, then come back, read issue 2, come back after that as well, I guess. That's the order of things, right? It's 1 before 2? Cool. So, essentially, at the end of the first issue, these young X-Men, these children of the Atom, if you will, they are about to go through this portal, which leads them to Krakoa. However, if I interpreted what happened in the last couple panels correctly, which, again, by the way, holy crap, that last, like, those last 2 pages or 3 pages of issue number 1 are gorgeous. Can't say enough about that. There are some things throughout the comic book or in the first issue where the art style is 100% for me, and then all of a sudden it becomes it at certain moments. At least when it hits, it freaking hits. But yes, with that, they are trying to go through this portal, which is only supposed to work for mutants. And so they're like, hey, you know what, we're mutants, let's go do this. Stroll, no thank you. They end up staying right where they were. So they're stuck in the city. They didn't make it to Krakoa, and they're like, oh, what the heck is going on? Hef? Hugh Hefner? Rest in peace? Rest in paradise? I apparently probably is right now, considering if is, yeah, we'll get away from that one right now. So, that happens. Issue 2 doesn't really jump right off where that went. It kind of just continues to go on. They're fighting the Hell's Bells, if you will, B-E-L-L-E apostrophe S. Actually, no apostrophe after that S. It's before the... Doesn't matter. So it's this like female rogue team of mutants essentially, and it's pretty cool to see them kind of combat. They realize they're way out of their league until Storm and the rest of the crew jump in like, yo, back off these kids. We'll grant you amnesty in Krakoa. We'll kind of forgive you-ish for the sins you've committed against humanity, but just come with us now. I believe that at the end of the second issue, the Hell's Bells, the, you know, tough ladies of mutant kind that are still left behind in the human realm because they like to wreak havoc and stuff, they felt left behind by the X-Men and everyone else that left to Krakoa in issues back long and lore before. Lore before. Maybe that's what the show should be called. Anyway, don't take that from me. I think I just spat at you. I apologize. So, yes. X-Men take the Hell's Bells. The young X-Men, if you will, they are kind of like, well, you know what? No, you need to get out of here. These Hell's Bells ladies need to get out here. They need you more than we do. Take them away with that portal device that you have. We'll find our own way. We have Daycrawler, kind of cute, like a younger version of Nightcrawler, cute name. They're like, you know what? This guy can teleport us out of here. We'll make sure that we go far away. No worries. We got you, dog. We got you, Storm. Thank you, Aurora, but we'll find you next time. So they teleport out of there. They go to try to do the teleport one more time to make it to Krakoa. I got that. So they're like, ah, la di da, let's do this, and to be continued. Cannot believe it. It was kind of like, okay, cool, fun little cliffhanger. I almost couldn't tell. I mean, I'm a little bit of a dummy if you couldn't tell already, but I almost couldn't tell if the second issue was actually leaving off where the first issue did. I imagine it's going to be 2 different things. It's not the same timeline. Certainly second issue is based in time after the first. One would assume, and it sure seems like it just based off the events that happened in the second issue. I just felt like maybe they could have held my hand a little bit more. I mean, it seemed like it was pretty self-explanatory, but at the same time, I feel like maybe the pacing of the second issue could have gone a little bit better, but it was cool. We get to kind of get to know a little bit more about the bigger, brawner guy that's part of these young X-Men. I don't know, I thought he was really kind of sick. You kind of learn that there's some crushes going on within the team and such. Again, a la teen drama, but also just humanity, if you will, as well. But yeah, that is the case for X-Men Children of the Atom number 1 and 2. Just to kind of summarize, we're going to get over to some Spider-Man stuff in just 1 second. And next up, we're talking NonStop SpiderMan. So, this is a little bit of a wild comic run so far. Today launched number 2, and the first one pretty much what happened, just to catch anyone up because this is the first episode of this show. Essentially, there is a drug overdose that happens from Empire State University. This guy named Austin pretty much died from an overdose of it. It's a performance-enhancing drug. One of Spider-Man's friends, Kel, accidentally ODs from it to a degree, and so she asks for his help. He comes into play. She doesn't know who she is anymore. She's kind of losing her mind, and so pretty much what we find out is that there's something weird going on with this drug, go figure. And so Spider-Man is trying to figure out exactly what is going on, though this issue picks up right after the other one where these dudes wearing pretty cool, like, masks, I think that were inspired by this one Instagram account that I know of. I'll be sure to put them up right here. Pretty sick designs, right? Anyway, so that's happening right now. And then I'll just put it this way before we go any further. This book runs at a super clip. It's extremely fast-paced, but that is what NonStop SpiderMan is supposed to be about, really. I guess it's just supposed to be more to the action and less story, kind of. The story seems fun. The writing is a little silly, but I will admit, at first I was not really digging what I was getting into, but at like the last third or quarter of this particular issue, it does get a little more interesting and intriguing to where I appreciate kind of the back and forth between the characters. So I will give it that. You get these the Zapata brothers are the villain in this quick little issue. It's kind of funny because I guess they're known for being quite dopey, and yet now all of a sudden they're hyper intelligent and very strategic in figuring out how they can take down Spider-Man. And Spider-Man's trying to figure out, like, wait, hold on a second, what is going on? So it seems as though these guys are taking the same performance enhancing drugs that the guy Austin from ESU had OD'd and died on, and his friend Kel is like losing her sense of self from as well. So kind of crazy stuff. Along with that, he's trying to figure out, okay, what can we do to get out of the situation? They have this huge roaring monster truck, which was really fun to see in panel form. I felt like the artists did a really good job of kind of making motion, and crazy motion at that, like a monster truck ripping through alleyways and sewers, it seemed as though, you know, trying to rip its way through pretty much atmospheres like that, through locations like that. It really felt kind of chaotic and scary and very intense. And so it's kind of Spider-Man trying to think really quickly. His Spidey senses have some pretty fun little quotes in there. I will give it that. It's pretty silly to kind of see how quick-witted his Spidey sense is, like, oh, you got played, because you're about to get smashed by these two luchador-esque guys who are trying to kill him, essentially. And so the last issue, or this past issue, kind of leaves off right there. They're still kind of trying to get away, Spider-Man and his pal, Nora. They're trying to get away from these guys, and pretty much everything that Spider-Man is trying to think of to get out of the situation, they're like a step ahead of him, so to speak. So kind of interested to see where this is going to go. I don't know if I'm like super hyped to see issue 3. I'll probably read it for you guys though. If you are interested, again, let me know if you feel like, you know what, no, let's give this story more of a chance. I think it has some legs. Let's see where it goes. The idea of NonStop Spider-Man being just, you know, crazy action for the majority of the issue seems pretty fun. And I will say, I think not only pace-wise does it move at a clip, but also this issue did just feel super short in general. Probably was a few pages short of like a standard issue comic, if you will. I could be wrong by that, but it did seem that that was the case. Correct me if I am incorrect, or if that happens to be the case, let me know. But yeah, pretty fun little read here, though we do have a special little Spidey story that we're about to get into. Alright, you Green Goblin. So, next up, as you can see, we are talking about SpiderMans Shadow. Holy moly. This is like a new take on Marvel What If. So they've done this kind of storyline back in the day before, but now they want to kind of add some new bits to the story, as well as some interesting twists as well. That way, if you are familiar with the Spider-Man What If story of if Spider-Man did hold on to the Venom symbiote suit, what would have happened, really? And so that is what makes this particular first issue of 5, I believe it's going to be a 5-parter, so interesting and exciting, because just right off the bat, stuff gets dark. Holy manoli, my friend. Essentially, Peter Parker, you know, he's having a lot of inner monologue, which he can tend to do at times. It's comic books, it happens. You know, he's whipping through town, and he feels as though, you know, once he got the symbiote suit, similar to what you've seen in the brilliant film that we know as Spider-Man 3, of course. He is whipping through town in his symbiote suit, looks really sick and everything. He feels as though, you know, he's gained this new level of power. He feels even stronger. He feels he's growing more stronger the more he even wears it, which is interesting, and he feels weaker without it. Kind of scary. Reed Richards actually talks with Spider-Man, letting him know, hey, you know what, I want to analyze this new suit that you have since it seems to make you so powerful. Let me just take a look at it. It seems different than what you're usually casually wearing. What is the difference here exactly? So Spider-Man goes to hang out with Black Cat for a little while. It kind of lets her know, you know, I've been feeling really strange lately. I've hardly been able to sleep. I don't know what's going on, but you know what, I did plan to talk with Mr. Fantastic tomorrow. I'm gonna do that, but for now, let's get a little freaky. Anyway, moving on. So then, also, there is a point in this actual issue where he has a run-in with Hobgoblin. He's being a bastard as per usual, and he is so enraged while wearing the symbiote suit. Again, as those of you who have seen the movie Venom or have read these comics before, this suit has a life of its own, and it talks to its host, thus, you know, creating a relationship, and sometimes a sadistic one at that. So while Spider-Man is dominating Hobgoblin, he actually removes Hobgoblin's mask, revealing who he actually is, his identity, and Hobgoblin's kind of hurt by this. He's like, whoa, I thought we had an understanding. I mean, what if the whole world finds out who I am? And Spider-Man with the symbiote suit slowly starts to realize, or at least come under the impression of, you know what, if I just start scaring these villains so badly they never want to do crime again, then that's what I'm going to do. I will break them quite physically or mentally if I have to. So that's why, you know, he unmasks Hobgoblin, beats him up pretty badly, gets the hell out of there. Cut to next day, hanging out with Reed Richards and a Human Torch. It's kind of cool. He's able to kind of go into a comatose state. He sleeps essentially while Reed Richards is doing these testings on him. It's a really quick process, I guess, but the only thing is, while he's wearing the suit, Spider-Man that is, he's going through all these crazy nightmares of death and despair. He's blaming himself for why a lot of people near him have died, which is classic Spider-Man, we'll say. But again, this is kind of a new twist. Reed Richards is kind of telling Spider-Man, hey man, like, I think you should probably leave the suit with us for a while. Could probably use some more testing. This is kind of becoming more of a problem for you. You're not seeming like yourself. Even Human Torch is trying to tell him the same thing. Spider-Man wants nothing to do with it. He's like, yo, you know what? I'm Peter Parker. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for a long time. I think I'll be okay. All right, chill, bud. Reed Richards tries to, you know, in a friendly way, like literally reach out to him, stretchy arm style, and Spider-Man with his spider sense senses it, grabs his wrist like in a seriously tight fashion, threatens him, kind of like in a rude warning kind of way, like, yo, let me do my thing. And then gets the hell out of there. He's swinging through town once again, kind of, you know, self-talking, letting himself know, you know what, I get that Reed Richards is just trying to help, but at the same time, I need to do my own thing. I only feel like I'm getting more healthy while I'm wearing this, and when I'm not wearing it, again, to reiterate, I feel as though I am only becoming weaker and more disturbed by my past. So, you know what, I'm just going to be doing this. It seems like, you know, I only have pluses when I'm wearing this, and yet all the minuses come once I take the suit off. So kind of like weird parallels with addiction problems here. It's interesting to see that. That's like he's having these withdrawals from not wearing the suit. And so when that happens, he's like, you know what, I just need a good night's sleep. I haven't been able to sleep for weeks very well. I'm going to go see Aunt May. Aunt May at this point in the storyline is kind of, she casts him out and drops Spider-Man, her nephew, quite a bit, just because, you know, he dropped out of school. It's kind of weird in the art of this book. When he doesn't have the mask on, he kind of looks like he's like 45, 47 years old, something like that. He looks like he's gone through some pretty hard times, probably due to the lack of sleep and such. But I can't say I completely agree with how Peter Parker looks in this book unmasked. It looks a little schlubby, a little interesting. But anyway, talks with Aunt May. They kind of reconnect. She says, I'm so sorry for letting you go, for casting you out. It's just that I was so disappointed when you told me that you weren't willing to live up to your ultimate potential, to your amazing potential. And I know that Uncle Ben knew that about you as well. And yet, you know, I'm sorry for doing that. Let's be bros again. And as it's happening, Hobgoblin flies into Aunt May's house, lights up a bomb, blows up the place. Aunt May's still inside. Before Spider-Man even thinks to help Aunt May, he's so vengeful by Hobgoblin showing up at her home. He casts her aside, goes after him, beats the living crap out of him, and the next thing he knows, oh my god, as he's smashing his face in, that, oh my god, Aunt May is still inside. So he goes to run towards the home. However, the symbiote suit is self-preserving, as well as the host as well. So with that, it's like clinging to the ground, not letting Peter Parker get into the house, like literally telling him, no, we cannot go inside there. The fire is bad. The fire will kill us. And so even though Spider-Man is trying his best to get into the home, he absolutely cannot. He's constrained by this thing. It's kind of actually really tragic. Huge explosion blows through the house. Bye-bye, Aunt May. And so he pretty much overhears Hobgoblin as he's like wheezing and dying on the floor, like, you started this, you unmasked me first, now it sucks when it hits home to you, doesn't it? However, all of a sudden Hobgoblin takes a look at Spider-Man again as he's approaching him, again with extreme revenge in his heart now. He's like, oh my god, I just made a serious mistake. This guy is about to wonk me right now. I don't know what that means. So Spider-Man goes up to him and he's like, no, you did this. I might have started this, and now I'm gonna finish it as well. And it's kind of really scary. The art is pretty good in this particular portion, where it kind of shows Peter Parker's face and his eyes illuminated through the lens of his mask, and it's kind of haunting, really. You can just tell that it's just nothing but pure evil now in his heart at this point. And so then he grabs Hobgoblin by the head, and then you see that his thumbs are just starting to press into his eye sockets a bit. And I wasn't expecting this next panel, but again, spoiler town, he ends up hanging up Hobgoblin by like a streetlight, I think it was, and then all of a sudden you just see a pool of blood pouring from his face at a distance, and so essentially he crushes his face in really romantic stuff. It's quite gorgeous, really. But yeah, that was the issue. This is only, again, part 1 of 5. I'm really excited to see where this is going to go. The sneak preview of what the cover art may look like for book number 2 looks also really scary. Let's just say MJ might be in a bit of a pickle, to say the least. And yeah, I'm really excited to see this. I'm surprised that I'm enjoying this as much as I am. I didn't know this was going to be a 5-parter. I didn't really do much homework leading up to this. I just kind of wanted to go in blind and see what all these runs for this week are going to look like once I actually sit down to read them. And so that said, we do have one more story to cover. We will be right back. Alright, so the last story we have today will be Darkhawk, Heart of the Hawk. Pretty interesting read, I'll be very honest with you right here. I was not sure how much I was digging the first third of this book. I mean, for one, the art style just definitely was not for me. I know I've talked about art style a couple times this episode, and it's something I'm always going to reference, because again, I mean, we typically want to read a comic book with the visual aesthetic that we appreciate, or maybe we can actually grow to appreciate over time. I've definitely experienced that as well over the years. So again, this one, not too dissimilar from other negative feelings I've had of art styles in the past. It starts off really kind of old school. This book is celebrating 30 years of creators and of the Darkhawk series, if I'm not mistaken. So it is interesting to see how this book goes. But anyway, it's kind of like modern day, if you will, or old school Darkhawk living in the city. He's just a kid from the Bronx or whatever, from New York, and he's, doing the best that he can. He has twin brothers who he has to take care of, really, because his father's passed away. Again, art style, kind of not my thing, kind of like 80s and 90s Marvel art, which, I mean, the story was kind of interesting, I guess, but I wasn't really sure what the point was. To be honest, I really didn't want to finish the story whatsoever. I was kind of ready to close the book, but I figured, you know what, let's power through. Not everything that we read per week is going to be, a winner. Let's be honest. But powered through it, and then the second third of the story comes in, where it jumps ahead quite a bit in the future to where Reed Richards, i.e. Nova, and also Peter Quill, Star-Lord, are gone. They've long died from a war that happened, and so pretty much what Darkhawk is now is this vigilante who goes throughout the solar system, different universes, and tries to help keep the peace, because there is a growing danger ever since these superheroes of the galactic, pretty much of the galactic realm of Marvel Comics have died. If you think about it, if the Guardians of the Galaxy are no more, and on top of that Nova is gone, like Nova Corps soldiers are pretty much kaput, then what else is there? So he's trying to do his best as a hero to, keep the peace. However, he does find out at this bar he stops at, this little outpost, he just wants a drink and some food real quick, and he'll move along the way, so he says. But he does suspect there's certain activity going on. So he's talking to the bartender, trying to, see what the vibe is around this place. Then there's some locals who don't take too kindly to him asking so many questions, to the point of where they actually reveal what they really are, not so much who, and that is the Brood, this evil race that has been known to cause havoc across the galaxy. It's kind of wild. And I like the art style. Once this second third of the book started, immediately it's a little more contemporary of work. It's a little more my style. It was really fun to watch and to read. A little more action-packed as well. Not too hokey looking like the first arc did. That said, I'm sure there's probably plenty of people who appreciate more the old school look of the first third of the book, but I personally appreciate a little more contemporary work when I'm reading comics. That's just me though, I'm sure. But anyway, yeah, it was kind of cool. Like all of a sudden, no, there's these shape-shifting beasts and they're trying to kill him. However, of course, Darkhawk is able to overcome what's going on. He blows apart this bar that he's at, and gets all these local people out of here. Like, hey, you know what? Let's freaking go. Let's go. You guys need to leave now before y'all die. And so he's able to evacuate them all. However, this building that these locals on this planet have been trying to rebuild, it's blown to pieces, and while they see that he did save the day, he's like, they're also kind of damning him, like, hey, what the hell? Like, we have been slowly trying to rebuild, like we just told you, and now you destroyed the place. Like, that was the one spot we had on this planet to actually be a community, and now it's gone because you had to go and start a fight, and poke your nose in business when they could have been none the wiser. That said, these citizens probably would have died had he not been there eventually, but at the same time, you can kind of see, like, no matter how hard this guy tries, he's still pretty much damned if you do, damned if you don't, kind of in a situation like that. So it's a little unfortunate, but pretty interesting read though. I will say from there, it gets even better. The art style jumps up again. Again, this is kind of celebrating 30 years of creators, so it's kind of cool to see how the more futuristic the setting gets, the more futuristic the art style becomes as well. To where, okay, so it jumps ahead further in the future to where now Darkhawk is on his ship, and he's been trying to fight back this gigantic force of a galactic war for so long, and the gravity pull of this explosion that's happening around him is so immense that he is not able to let his suit, the Darkhawk suit, be able to fly out and try to combat what's going on. There's no way of being able to transmit an emergency signal because, again, the gravitational pull is not allowing for that. So he's trying to think, what the hell can I do? What the hell can I do? To anyone who's unfamiliar with Darkhawk, much like myself before reading this, so how he gets this suit, if I'm not mistaken, is by this amulet that he acquired. And so he's like, well, you know what? I can't leave. I can't send out a signal for help or anything like that. Best thing I can do, the strongest source of power that I know of is the amulet itself, which contains all this data that the suit has acquired throughout the eons that it's been around, including his own memories and stuff. So his thought is, okay, what if I actually just send out that, and hopefully that can kind of, at least something, maybe he won't be able to escape, and maybe, there's a signal that he won't be able to send, but if he sends the amulet itself, hopefully that has enough power to be able to get out of this giant explosion that's happening around him, this force of nature, if you will. And so he is able to, right before the end, his ship's giving out as much power as it can, but eventually energy and power is running out. It's going to diminish and it's going to be overtaken by this gigantic force explosion that's happening. And so he does send it out, and then the comic ends. It was a really quick read, quicker than I expected. I think it felt quicker because, again, it's like 3 different acts happening. And so it's like really you only get a snippet of different eras of which Darkhawk has been a thing, a character, if you will, a hero. He always he says, he always felt like he was kind of playing hero, pretending, and never really felt fully justified in what he was trying to become. And he just wishes that, his father can be there to see him worked so hard to become the hero he always wanted to be, and the man he had to step up to become, once his father did pass away. And so he felt like, he is doing one last great thing for the universe, for the galaxy at least, if you will, by sending out the amulet in hopes of, I guess, someone else maybe acquiring it. It doesn't really talk about what the full point of that is, but I imagine that might be what becomes of this story down the line. I was, again, during the first arc of this story, I was not very interested. There was some little intrigue here and there, but again, as the story progressed, it became a lot more interesting. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what the story will become if I remember to pick it up in the future. So Yeah, that was Darkhawk, Heart of the Hawk. It was interesting for sure. But anyway, again, if there are certain books that you want me to pick up that we can talk about in future episodes, let me know, certainly. Again, socials are all linked down in the bottom of the description here. You can also check out podcasts that I'm a part of. We talk movies, gaming, comics, and TV shows on this podcast that we do called STGeek Podcast. Again, that's all going to be linked down below. And also my best buddy John and I, we have a beer-centric podcast where we're just dumb guys where we talk about beer and we drink it while we're talking about it. Go freaking figure. We're just two friends who like roasting each other and enjoying some cold brew while doing it. That's called Beer Belly. Again, all that linked below. Have a great one. Let me know what we should talking about next time. Let me know what we should talking about next time. I'm pretty sure that's English. Anyway, have a great one. We'll see you then. Bye-bye. Hey, don't go running off too quickly now. Let me know just as well whether or not you kind of want to see if we can break up these episodes a little more. Is it a lot taking in talking about like 4 books or something like that within one episode? Should it be less? Should it be even more? Do you think maybe 1 book or 1 issue per episode would be a little nicer for you? Let's hear it out in the comments. I may just oblige and see what I can do to help y'all out. Just making the show what you want it to be. Maybe we can meet some more fun in the middle. Anyway, have a great one. We'll catch you later.